Hey guys, Sam here and welcome back to our channel. In our previous video, we gave you a primer and overview of our big project we have on hand where we'll be installing our own solar system, battery backup inverters, and everything connecting it to our home, which is a single wide mobile home, and taking it off grid as much as possible. Today's video is all about starting to put things into place, such as what you see behind me. We have a BigBattery brand ETHOS 48 volt lithium iron phosphate battery ecosystem and a LUXPower 12 kilowatt hybrid inverter. One of the big things that I always try to look for when I am choosing whether or not to invest in something like this is the company. Who is actually selling this product? What kind of a relationship can I have with them as far as ordering support, answering my initial questions, but then also following up and helping me after the purchase with customer support, warranty claims, and things like that. BigBattery is based in the US. So while we do live in a global world, it is still nice to know that BigBattery is a US-based company for the ease of communication, the customer support aspect, and of course from all of the benefits listed below that the company itself takes on to be a true sustainable and conscious company as we go towards renewable energies. Now let's talk about this guy, the BigBattery brand ETHOS 48 volt energy storage system. This is a lithium iron phosphate UL certified solution designed to provide reliable power storage for any home in America, boasting a stackable modular design and with all cables and components included. The ETHOS is easily installed to your wall, affords you the ability to expand upon your system later on, and is super easy to put together. You're going to see us combine the UL certified ETHOS battery with the UL certified LUXPower inverter for a truly killer 1-2 combo. The ETHOS is compatible with dozens of 48 volt inverters in case you already have one set up at your home or decide to go for a more economical route. This inverter is large. It is a 12,000 watt output, but you could also do some smaller LUXPower inverters connected together for perhaps a more affordable solution or a more smaller solution that you can then grow into. The beauty of this is a modular system. The batteries we have today to show you, while we have 3, we can expand that very easily. The same thing could be said for an inverter. If we had a smaller one, we could expand it as well. This ETHOS 48 volt battery is rated to be installed outdoors, so you're going to see a bunch of weather-tight connections, a nice closed-up solid solution, so be aware you don't have to install it inside a structure like we are doing here. The same thing applies for the LUXPower inverter. This unit is also a 240 volt inverter, which means that 240 volts will come out of this box into our home. Split phase. I don't have to do anything different. It's not only going to do 120 volts. I don't have to pair this in parallel with another unit. This is an all-in-one solution to provide power, true power, from here into a home. Alright, that's enough yakety yak, enough introduction. Let's go ahead and jump into the technical bits. We are going to have the ETHOS control unit unboxing overview, the battery unboxing overview. The LUXPower inverter will show you how to unbox it, install it, then we'll put everything in place, connect it up, and fire it up for the first time. This is the ETHOS control box. Let's go ahead and open this up and take a look at what all is inside. We've got some BigBattery gloves, large red cable, large black cable, large red cable, large black cable, communications cable, other cables, the mounting base, nice sturdy metal, and this guy, the ETHOS control box. The base is metal. All of this white is metal, nice powder coat finish, top and bottom, inside and out. It does sit like this with the little black nubs facing up. The plastic trim on the sides is so that it matches the control box and the batteries, and overall is very good construction. To mount the ETHOS control box, you simply pick it up, sit it on top, and move it until it registers right on those black nubs. It's flush on the front, the sides, and everything lines up perfectly. Over here on the right side of the control box, if we grab here and move this forward, this plastic cover does pop off. And that reveals a little bit of the controls here. We have a breaker. If we loosen the thumb screw, we're able to open up the little cover here. This is an IP67 rated breaker housing. And here we have a 125 amp, 400 volt DC breaker. Below the breaker, we have two battery inputs, positive, and negative. And that completes everything on the right side of the ETHOS control box. Things are very similar over here on the left. Grab the plastic back here, pull forward, releases the cover. And on this side, we have two sets of outgoing cables from here to the inverter. Positive, negative, as well as communication cables from here to the battery and from here to the inverter. To replace the covers, it's very easy. Line it up in place and then push from the front to the back till it's flush and gets back how it was originally. You definitely want to make sure you got clearance to have access to your sides for this, since that is where you'll be connecting cables, routing cables, and probably also have wall mounting brackets very soon as well. But overall, the control box is a nice, sleek design. It is really good metal construction. The fit and finish of this is flawless and is a really nice looking product. Let's take a quick look at the cables included before we change to our next subject, which is the battery. In the control box, we have a couple of cables here. First up is this blue one. This is the communications cable. It's a Cat6 RJ45 Ethernet cable. It's been pre-terminated and it is shielded. You can tell it's shielded by the metal connector on this end. This also has a weather-tight connection for this end to go into the control box, and that is really nice. As far as battery and inverter cables, you have two different sizes. You have 4 large gauge wires, you have 2 red and 2 black, and then you have one set of smaller gauge wires, 1 red and 1 black. The pre-terminated connection style on these cables is very unique. I have not seen it before, but I'm not a cable connector expert. These look like they are a push to connect watertight fitting. Very nice and robust, and I look forward to trying them out. The 4 large cables are pre-terminated on one end, but the other is left cut, so you can cut to length and wire up as need be. The smaller gauge cables come pre-terminated on both ends, and so you're good to go with that. This has been a look at the ETHOS control box. Let's go ahead and swap out contents of the table, bring over one of the battery systems, open it up, and see what's in that box. For this portion of the video, guys, I brought you to the overhead rig because this is heavy. This is the box that one of the batteries is in. So let's go ahead and open it up, check the contents, and enjoy the footage. Looks like we got some mounting brackets, some wires, and a communications cable. We have our left and right side covers. And below the foam, we have the battery. Let's take a look at the right side of this battery first. Up here we've got our sticker information. It tells us all the information about the battery, that it's a 51.2 volt lithium iron phosphate, 48 volt nominal voltage. Rated capacity is 5,120 watt hours. And there's all the other information here that you guys have probably already read before I could read it to you. Up top we have battery positive and negative. Down here another set of battery positive, negative. And then below this weather protective shield we also have the breaker built in just for the battery itself. I really like this shield. That is very nice. Spinning it around to the left side of the battery, we are able to see we have communications port 2, communications port 1, a state of charge indicator with LED lights, power switch. Also up here is a grounding screw, and there's a grounding screw down here at the bottom as well. So I'm going to go ahead and reach over on the back here, turn on the breaker, then we'll turn on the power button and check our state of charge. Pretty quick boot up time, and looking at the LEDs, we have, well, it showed 4 for a second, but now we're down to 3 out of 4 LEDs. Not bad. The overall construction of the battery is just as good as the ETHOS control box. It is all metal. This is all metal that's been powder coated white. It has a great finish to it, stainless steel hardware. You've got these big handles here on the sides. Those are very nice for picking this thing up. Spinning around to the front, it is a nice blank appearance, which is fine. That is not a negative because this is what you see in the room. Nice and clean. And as far as, I mean, what you want to talk about, I don't know, guys. It is pretty. It is nice. It is just as nice as any home appliance you would have in your house, which is great because this is a system that you could install in your home and your family or significant others should not be angry about seeing it installed. This big giant box is the LUXPower inverter. This is what takes the power from our battery, DC voltage, inverts it to AC voltage, and puts it out to the house. This is not a small box. As you might be able to tell, it is a very big box. Alright, in the box so far we were greeted with some templates. This is awesome. I like me some templates for drilling holes and mounting brackets. That is super handy. And inside here, is our wireless communication device. And the last two things up top is nice metal mounting bracket and two mounting arms. Below the protective foam is the LUXPower inverter itself. It is ginormous, guys. This is a beefin' inverter. You are serious when you get this guy in your place. This inverter is very heavy at 120 pounds. So I'm going to put a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood up here on the wall, attach it to my wall studs, and then the mounting bracket for the inverter will get put onto this. Just some extra insurance for this installation. Now we can put up the LUXPower inverter's metal mounting bracket. I'm adding a second sheet of plywood down here because the LUXPower inverter has a kind of a back plate that needs to reference on the wall that comes down lower than the bracket. So this is more of a spacer to keep it from tilting forward than anything else. With the mounting bracket and the 3/4 inch plywood backer board put into place, now it is time to lift the LUXPower inverter up and hang it on the bracket. This is definitely a two-person operation or a one-person plus mechanical assist like you're going to see me do. I'm using a sit-stand desk, one of those things that roll up and down. I drug it out of my workshop, brought it over here just for this purpose. We're going to sit it up vertical, then I'll use the lifting mechanism to get it in place, hook it on the lip, and hopefully let this installation be very smooth, safe, and easy. That is one big inverter, but it is on the wall, safe and sound. Let's go ahead and lock it down with the brackets you put in there so it doesn't fall off or wiggle jiggle down to smash your toes. Then we can call it good. Let's go ahead and open these clips on the side and let you guys see the business end of this inverter and the interior connection points. Alright, starting from left to right, these gray blocks is where your PV system or your solar panel inputs are. Here we have some earth grounds down at the bottom. Next in line is the battery inputs and the breaker. All your battery connections get put here with your grounding bar down below. Here is a generator input, so if you want to use a propane or gas powered generator to help charge your batteries, it's dedicated generator input. The load is your AC output going to your structure. So you've got your line 1, line 2. And then over here is grid input if you want to use the grid to help charge your batteries and work as a hybrid inverter, which this is. This is where you attach your grid portions. Up above the connection points are your breakers. You have a load breaker and a battery breaker. Closing up the access hatch with these 3 latches over here, they give a nice firm connection. They are also keyed locks, so whenever you do not need access to this, use the keys with your kit, lock this out to keep everyone safe. And then here on the front of the unit, you have the display screen, a couple of touch buttons down here, and that is about it. All of the wire connections take place on the very bottom of this unit, so below this black portion, there are a bunch of knockouts and labels there for you to route your conduit and wires to. And as far as cooling, that is all handled from the back side of the unit. All of the fans are on the back and visible from underneath. And so from a front-facing perspective, this is a nice clean-looking inverter. To give you a high-level overview about the LUXPower inverter, this is a hybrid inverter, meaning it can connect to the grid, it can sense current coming from the grid, it can supply power smart to your home or your structure, and has a lot of really great features. It has multiple different operation modes, anywhere from the grid tied to UPS backup to off-peak energy usage and off-grid, if not more. What we are going to be installing is completely off-grid. I have no intentions of ever connecting this to the grid. It's only going to ever get power from our solar array that we will install. Go to the inverter, charge the batteries, and then from here go to our home to supply our circuits as needed for off-grid energy usage. The reason I'm choosing to do off-grid is it greatly simplifies the regulations involved, rules, inspections, and other red tape headaches that come into place where we live when you connect something like this to the grid. I just want you to know that that is not a limitation of the device. It's more of a personal preference on what we want to do here, and that this unit is completely capable as it is. With the inverter installed on the wall, I'm now going to begin working on installing the ETHOS battery system to the right of the inverter to help make the batteries a little bit safer and more stable for attaching the brackets to the wall. I have some scrap 3/4 inch plywood that I cut into strips about 4.5 feet tall. I'm going to mount them to the wall first. That way I have a nice wide base to attach the screws that hold the batteries to the wall with some good hardware to hold it into the plywood for it to be extra safe and stable. So to mount the batteries to the wall, you take out these two screws. One's from the top of the battery and one is from the bottom. And you attach this bracket. It goes right here. It allows you to adjust in and out based upon your wall spacing. Put the two screws through this bracket and then attach the bracket to the wall with the other screws included.
We're getting ready to hook all the batteries together. We have a certain way of putting it together depending on how many batteries there are. We have 3 batteries and a controller unit, so we're just going to follow the directions and put it together like it says. The connection is just a little push fit like this. Just push and it clicks and you know you got it good.
And if you want to make sure the battery cables are good, so long as you don't push in the little button on the side, try and pull it off. If it doesn't come off, you're good to go. Next thing I'm going to do is hook up our battery communications. You have 3 of these custom made RJ45 Ethernet cables that go from battery to battery. just fit in the links and they get installed on the left side of the battery stack. So we're going to unscrew this dust cap from this one and this one, and we're going to put our cord between the handle, orient it in the right direction, and then connect it that way. So if you look at this and you think, my goodness, that looks like overkill just for an Ethernet cable, remember that this whole battery system is rated to be installed outdoors. Not like in the direct rain, but it's rated to be installed in the outdoors where humidity and stuff just gets around. That's why you've got such a proper installation, which otherwise would appear like overkill. I'm at my last cable to go from the battery to the control box, and on the side of the control box you've got two different options. One is labeled battery, the other is labeled inverter. I'm connecting the batteries, so I'll plug this one into the battery port. Later on, when we connect the battery to the inverter, we will use the different cable included and we'll plug it into the inverter port. Hopefully that makes sense. And there we go. The ETHOS battery system is completely wired up. The dip switches to tell the whole system what the battery ID numbers were the last thing to get set. With all the batteries connected, all the covers put in place, the wires now connected, we can now turn on this system, see what kind of status we've got, make sure we look good, and from there we'll turn off the battery system and start wiring up to the LUXPower inverter next. Everything checks out with the battery. It is communicating to the ETHOS control box correctly, and that is good news. What I'm going to do next is completely outlined in the user manual, which this I have been using for every step. I am not an expert at this stuff. I've never touched this kind of unit before. So this user manual has been great. It has answered all my questions. And as long as I really do read every step, it's telling me what to do every single step of the way. So what I'm going to do next is called battery commissioning. It's where I go into the ETHOS control box and I set the protocol for communication between this unit and the LUXPower. It walks you through every step. So I'll go ahead and do that on the menu here. After that is set, you have to reboot all the batteries, turn off all the switches and breakers, turn them all back on, and at that point it is set, ready to rock and roll, and then we can hook up the inverter. This is when we grab these 5-foot long, 1/0 big, nice cables. We're going to hook all 4 of these to the top of the battery. Again, following the instructions, following the wiring diagram. We're going to run them over into the LUXPower inverter through one of the knockout ports at the bottom, and we will connect it to the inverter, also following the instructions exactly where it says to go. I'm going to remove this 2-inch connection right here. Just unthread the nut. The cap comes out at the bottom, and I'm going to replace that with this guy, a 2-inch cable type connector. I have the clamp connector in place. Now I'm going to run the battery wires through here and connect it to the associated terminals in the inverter. I removed the grommet for the communications wire, and I'm going to install a 3/4 inch clamp cable connector, and this is going to be temporary. I want to get some reducing washers and step this down to a 1/2 inch 3/8 clamp connector because it'll fit better and actually hold the wire. But for now, until things get set in officially with all the other wires, this will at least protect the cable from the plastic, make sure it doesn't get frayed, and allow me to continue hooking this up. This brings us to the wonderful stage and milestone of the batteries being completely wired together, connected, wired over to the inverter and our communication wire being put into place. What this means is we can now power on the battery bank, all 3 batteries, plus the controller box breaker switch, turn them all on, make sure they start up correctly, which they do, we've already tested that, and then go over here to the LUXPower inverter and flip this battery breaker to see how it powers up and see if it communicates, and otherwise what information we get to see. There we have it. The battery's on, powered, and connected to the LUXPower, and it sees everything, and they're both talking to each other. We have a digital handshake going on, and that is good. So this is going to be the stopping point for this one particular video in the series, but there is a link down below for a full playlist that's going to bring you guys along for this entire journey. This was just the initial install of some hardware. There is still work to be done as far as cable management, grounding the batteries, grounding the inverter, running wires officially, and doing all sorts of additional work. This just covered putting the things on the wall and connecting them together initially. So definitely check out that link down below if you want to see where we go from here. Again, the goal is to power our home off-grid as much as possible. Yes, our home legitimately off-grid, that's our goal. We'll see how we get there though. You have to stick around and see those other videos to see how it ends. As always, if you got questions or comments, leave them for us down below. Just bear in mind, we are not experts or professionals. We are following user manuals to the T and utilizing the customer support from BigBattery for any kind of questions we do have. So we will help you as we can, but if you get technical and over our head, we'll just redirect you to the manufacturer. Otherwise, appreciate you guys watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys next time on the Homestead.